Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kevin Creative's Model Critique. We're going to check out my custom high-grade Wing Zero this time. And boy oh boy, I took some trash and boy I made some treasure. Take a good old look at this thing. I mean, come on now. If you've seen what this looks like out of the box, I promise you it does not look like this. Out of the box, I think the Wing Zero, the high-grade Wing Zero is probably one of the worst kits out there. I would compare it almost to like an SD because the SD kits, they're inherently terrible out of the box. That's to be expected, but a high-grade, you should be able to at least put it together and have something. This looks awful. This looks like 99-cent store bootleg stuff. I can't believe this made it to store shelves. But that's part of the draw. Sometimes I like to find these terrible looking kits that at least I think look terrible and do something with them and have something to look at and just think like, holy crap, I can't believe this used to look so bare and boring and cheap. To be able to take that and look at it now and just have it look like it came right out of the show, it just feels, that's a good feeling. That's why I do this. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. There are mistakes. Let's talk about some of them. So a big factor in this one was I wanted to get a little bit practice with filling in seam lines and a little bit of sculpt work. So if you look at the beam rifles, there's going to be some molding I've done on the inside of the gold parts on the top part of the rifles. Those were hollowed out parts. Once again, hollowed parts on a model kit. I don't know why. For the most part, they're going to be closed into one rifle. You're not going to see it. That's probably why Bandai did that to begin with. So I figured, all right, let's just get a little practice in and trying this out. I was in a bit of a hurry, as always, and I, once again, didn't do the cleanest job on this. I figured you're probably never going to see it. This was just kind of a test, and I kind of wish I did better, but oh well. Now, on the top part of the rifles, there are some seams running down along them, which, same thing. For the rifles, I took my time and really tried to fill the seams in as best I could. This was still part of the learning phase. I think I've improved since here, or at least figured some things out. The beam rifles from the top look very okay. Not great, not amazing, just okay. You could tell I filled in the seams and they look better than out of the box, but oof. We got some learning to do. I'm not done yet. The same thing with the ankles. The ankles, I filled in the seams, and that's where things came out strong. The ankles look great. You cannot tell there is a seam there at all. Very happy about that. That's one of the things I've noticed is on the, arms, forearms, thighs, and legs, I can fill the seam and do a pretty decent job. But the weapons, when it comes to these weapons that have all these shapes and heights and levels and depths, things can get a bit tricky. The longer the seam, the more fragile it is. With these Buster rifles, the seam goes across the whole thing. That's a tricky situation on its own, plus the fact that, again, there's all these levels to it and shape. Still working on it, still getting the feel for it. I think I'm improving. Step in the right direction, can't complain. So as always, I like to look through the kits and just see where the details lie. See what Bandai has already done with the mold and where I can pop things out. So for the knees, the lower part of the knees, I added a little bit of green metallic to those little divots just because why not? The detail is there. I could have just panel lined it, but I figure let's add a little extra. It helps. I think it makes things pop. Same thing with the ankle guards. I put a little bit of black and silver on the sides and on the front just to add some depth. You don't want it just to be a wash of just pure white, especially on the legs where typically it's only white. You want to add a little bit of something just to break things up. And then as well as the vents on the sides of the knees as well. Did a lot of masking just to get that done, but I think it came out great and it was worth it. Again, it adds a little bit of something there that you don't see when you look at it because it's not your focus. It just blends in. It's one of those details where you wouldn't even think about it, but that's the beauty of it. The beauty is that it's so perfectly in place. You don't think about it. You don't care about it. That's the point. I like to make my kits look natural. I like to make my art look as natural as possible. And what I mean by that is I like to make it seem as though when you look at something, you just see a picture. You don't think about, oh, look how he did this or look where he did that and all this. It's all one big seamless thing that you can't tell where things begin and end. I'm a big fan of that subtlety, I guess, and so that's what I go for with my kits. Again, just like with the high-grade God Gundam in the last one, I decided to add some gold accents to the little medallions on the shoulders. Now, I actually lost one. Didn't even realize it until I think I was building the kit. We're just gonna call that a loss, and you know what? It's fine. I honestly don't even notice it's missing because the back of the shoulder is pretty hidden behind all of the wing parts, so I've never even noticed it. I take pictures. I don't even try to hide it. When I take the pictures, it's just naturally partially hidden, so that's nice. I don't have to think about it. Shame that it's gone, but we'll live. Something to keep in mind if I ever have to sell it though. So I decided to keep the V-fin, the medallion in the center with the green jewel, as well as the fins on the shield and the vents on the back of the wings in their standard yellow color, just because, again, I don't want to do everything in gold and I don't want to do everything in yellow. I think there's a good balance where you pick certain points out, and that helps make the kit step up while still feeling like its original design and everything and color scheme. I did add some metallic bits to the back of the wings I'm really happy about. I don't know if they're vents, I don't know what you'd call those, but the bottom of the wings there were some divots. I figured the molding's there, might as well take advantage. Same thing with these, I want to see these thrusters or stabilizers at the top of the wing bits. I filled those in. I could have gone the extra mile and done the whole thing in black and then just done that little circular part in gunmetal or silver or something. But I decided I want the whole thing to be metallic, and I didn't want to have a big old black spot with just that metal piece. It looks good on smaller sections, but I figured this was a little too big to get away with it just being shadow or shading or something. So I figured, screw it, let's just make the whole thing metal and call it a day. And I think that's fine. A simple little bit of paint that, again, makes a whole lot of difference. When it comes to the yellow on the back of the wings, that part as well, I did use the stickers for as masking tape. So I painted that part yellow first, put on the stickers, painted them blue, removed the stickers. So the gunmetal part on the white of the wing, that part I just masked. I could have used all of that molded in detail to do a bit more, but I didn't want to go too crazy. I was concerned that if I did everything, all those bits with the gunmetal inner frame color, while it would have looked great on any other design, I feel like the Wing Zero, it wouldn't have worked as well. This is a very angelic design. I wanted to keep it that way. I didn't want to add too much gunmetal to the inner part of the wings just because it would have felt a bit more, there was armor bits missing, which is what I didn't want. So that's why I just did just that vent, just to make it pop, break things up a bit. That helps break it up while still keeping the regal angelic vibe of the whole thing. So I'm happy about that as well. So the green accents I masked off and painted as well. I believe I used an enamel paint. I just mixed up some green and metallic silver and just made a metallic green, and I think that came out really well. So with the gold accents of the Buster Rifle, I painted it gold first, masked off that with the included stickers, and then painted it with that gunmetal color, and I think it came out pretty much perfect. You don't think twice about it. And the gold with the Buster Rifle I feel works really well. I could have left it yellow and that would have been fine, but the gold pops. It looks really nice against this gunmetal color, and I think that's what helps make it work. And then with the crotch area, you can see I added some gunmetal accents that were normally supposed to be just that plain white. I saw the opportunity to make things stand out a bit more. I felt like it made it a little bit more real, kind of gives it a bit of a real grade vibe, and that's what I wanted to go for. Same thing with the little vents that were done in the metallic green on the chest, as well as the cameras, the forehead cameras. Now, I will say I didn't bother to paint the Vulcans underneath those white bits of armor. You can't really pose it all that much. I have it in pretty basic pose, but it gets the job done. I like the fact that you can both open and close the wings because this can turn into its Neo Bird mode. I don't like to do transformations with my model kits. Unfortunately, you're not going to see in this video because if I transform it, that's a chance I could be damaging the paint and all that, and I really don't want to. As cool as I really think this is, the Neo Bird design, I'm just not going to deal with it, just because I don't want to risk chipping the paint or ruining everything. I'm just going to leave it as is. The fact that it can turn to Neo Bird mode opens up some possibilities for more posing, which is nice. So like I said, the wings can open and close. You can choose how you want to do it. I think the wings open look pretty cool, especially in a flight pose, so I prefer to have it like that. Sometimes I like to mix it up, and I have the double Buster Rifle pointed out, or I'll close them up into one single Buster Rifle, and, well, you know, we mix things up here. It's a good time. I did a little bit of inner painting on the shield with the metallic bits, the gunmetal. Now the shield has an extending feature that I decided to omit because once again, damaging the paint and all that. But the inside had some pistons that could have been painted really nicely, and I was going to paint them. I was masking everything up, and then I said, you know what? I'm not going to use this feature. We're not going to see it, so I just scrapped it, didn't bother to paint it, and we're fine for it. Everything looks still pretty good. I was going to fill in that seam as well. Same thing with the shield. I was going to fill in the seam with the yellow fins, but the trouble it would have been wouldn't have been worth it for the outcome, so I just ignored it. Very happy with how the gold and the red trim came out for the shield. That took some masking. It's not, you know, obviously 100%, never is, but damn, that looked pretty good. That with the vents and everything. I even did like the little Vulcans on the shield and the green on the visor. It all just came out so great. I'm so happy with how this came out. This is really might be one of my favorite builds that I currently own, just because it really is a representation of taking a bad looking kit straight out of the box, putting in the work, and just getting something so amazing. I freaking love looking at this. It really looks so good. This is better than any toy you can find on this shelf. Robot Damashi or Universe, this is better than that. This is the end all be all for a nice little 1/144 scale Wing Zero for me, and I'm very happy about that. That's really what I'm going for, is I want to make something that is perfect for me. I want to make something that when I build it and I paint it, we're done. No, I don't care what company announces what. I don't need another one. This is it. I've done it. I made it. I've seen it. We're done. No more Wing Zero for the high grade. We are done. So I'm very happy about that. Now, if they make a master grade, I don't know, man. That's pretty tempting, I'd have to say. So unfortunately, this kit cannot do the pose on the front of the box with the twin Buster rifles combined together, both hands on it, firing off. Can't do it. The shoulders just don't push out that much, and I could probably try, but again, it would just be horrible on the paint, so I'm just not going to worry about it. Oh well, it's a high grade, that's to be expected. The double arm pose where he's got him spread out, screw it. I think that's the way to go for this kit, because we have the standard wing with the single Buster rifle. Since we're going to do a twin Buster rifle, might as well hold them both. Make it a little different. So for the color scheme on this, I just want to say, when I think of the Wing series, and I think a lot of people can agree, I think of darker tones, a lot of heavy shading, a lot of heavy shadows. This was a very, it's the 90s. It's a very grimy time where everything is in darker colors and edgy. We're freaking edgelord with the death knife. I went over this with obviously some very dark blue and dark red. I might have used a brown red or a red brown even. I think what I did was I started with the base being really dark. I made the overlayer, the highlighted layer, the standard color that I wanted it to actually be. So sometimes I'll mix it up. Sometimes I'll start things off with the color I want it to be, and then I'll pick a lighter color and highlight it, and then other times, like in this case, I'll pick a darker color and then I'll go over it with the color I actually want it to be to kind of balance it out and still make it that color I wanted it, but have it be a darker tone, darker shades. So this is very distinctly Wing. You look at this and you get the Wing vibe. You're not going to look at this and think, oh, is this a Destiny kit? No, like, we know what era we're going for here, which I'm happy about. One thing I'd actually like to point out is the box art on this is pretty nice. There's a couple of kits I'm noticing from the 2010 area, both the high grade God Gundam as well as this Wing Zero. They have some really nice box art. I don't know if that's a big deal to anybody, but that's kind of what grabbed me on some of these kits. Is I saw the kits out of the box and I thought, wow, this is not it. But then I saw the box art that they did for whoever was the designer at the time, and I thought, you know what, that's actually a really cool design. I'd like to have that displayed on a shelf. Just I see what it could be, and that inspires me. So good job. I don't know, some of the box art I notice I don't care for, and some of it is why I buy the kit, so I think that's interesting. So I don't always apply decals to my kits, and that's included on this one here. And the reason being is some kits I feel like the decals fit really well and help add to the kit. Other ones I feel like it's a bit distracting, and in the case of this one here with the Wing Zero, it would have been a bit distracting. This physical silhouette feels pretty much perfect straight out of the show, and adding decals to it would have been a little distracting. It would have been a bit much. I feel like in this case I really wanted to get the paint job to be perfect and prominent and just show off, wow, look at what this kit really is. Underneath the bare bones plastic model kit, there is an awesome design to be had if you know what you're doing, if you have the time to learn the skills and all that. If you just take this out of the box and just add on some panel lines and all that, the stickers, it's gonna look really cheap. I don't recommend it. Just get a master grade version. I know they don't have this specific one, but get a master grade version, call it a day. Or better yet, get this kit, use it as inspiration on where you want to go, because I gotta tell you, I feel really good about looking at some of these high grades I have and thinking, wow, I took something like that and turned it into this. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. This was a great kit. I'm glad to have gone over it. It's a good time. Highly recommend if you're into the Wing series. Like I said, if you can paint and you got the skill, this looks pretty much straight out of the show. Go ahead and add it to your collection. If you're not wanting to paint and you don't really do it, don't waste your money. Anyways, guys, take it easy and we'll see you next time.